For the sports tech, I'm just going to give you guys some tools that you guys can use for whatever project you guys want to do. So the first tools that we have are sports analytics tools, and these will give you your player stats. So for FanGraphs specifically, that's really good for if you're really into baseball. Something that's tracked better now than ever before is pitching. And that's like exit velocity, spin, time between pitches, and like how long pitchers last per game. There's also the MLB Stats API. That's going to give you historical stats of just how players performed over time. So you might see, like, I think in 2004, we've seen that some players get on base better than others, even though they weren't hitting it out of the park every time. But using those kinds of data sets, you'll be able to determine, all right, this is how you score points. If you guys are interested in other sports, football-data, that has a really good data set of soccer and like where players are on the field at the time. And then there's also basketball, football, and baseball-reference.com. That also just has historical stats you can scrape, and maybe it can help with recruiting. There's actually a college version of this too. I know a lot of recruiters will just look at the teams that players played against and see how they perform against that, and then determine are they worth scouting or not. And then these are some computer vision tools. So if you want to run things on device, YOLO and MediaType are pretty good. Object detection, pose estimation models, and they'll run on your laptop locally. So this is kind of an example of object detection. It's tracking where people are. This is really important in sports. So right now, the way that you can get those virtual replays in the middle of commercial breaks or timeouts are because people are using object detection models, replacing the people with like figures on the virtual field. And then below that is like an example of a pose estimation model. This is really good for pitcher wear. Actually, you can see how much force a pitcher applies on each pitch, and you can tell how long their arm is going to last. Maybe they're putting out like thousands of newtons every pitch. But yeah. The other thing is if you want to run these models on a server, RoboFlow is a really great tool for that. There's a ton of data on RoboFlow, and instead of setting it up locally, where you might run into issues with not being able to connect to your camera, or maybe you don't have enough compute to run this at a fast enough speed. What RoboFlow does is you'll run it on their servers, and you'll just make a simple API call to say, like, return the X, Y coordinates of the different positions of objects on the screen. And so these are some topics you guys can kind of explore. Data analytics, there's MIT Sloan Sports Analytics Conference happening in 3 weeks. And that is really about recruiting and how you determine what the value of the player is. You can track their historical stats and predict their future performance. Computer vision, get a better understanding of the health of the player. I think we actually have somebody here from RayFit, and they do computer vision for kind of just everyday health and wellness for people aged 30 to 60, I think. Rules and regulations. This one's interesting. I was thinking about this last night, but it's really hard to understand like the rules of some sports, and sometimes there are certain loopholes you can take advantage of, and sometimes refs or umps don't always do a good job of figuring out are the pitches in the box. Did they touch the line? Is that how you interpret the rules? Maybe you can apply some LLMs to figure out how to enforce those rules, or maybe take advantage of them. Gaming and sports. There were a lot of people who applied for this hack and were really interested in sports betting. So maybe there's an angle there. Also, video games are always fun. So yeah. And then how do you apply these analytics to other sports? So soccer, football, basketball. Yep.